What's going on, guys? Jason Frausto for TennisUnleashed.net, and welcome to part one of our 2022 U.S. Open Finals match analysis between Carlos Alcaraz and Casper Ruud. To find out exactly how Alcaraz won his first ever Grand Slam, stay tuned because it's coming up next. All right, guys, so the first thing I like to do is jump into some stats before we jump into some points, and let's look at the points won by rally length numbers in this match. 1 to 4 shot points were 61% of all the points played, with Alcaraz winning 55% of the short points. 5 to 8 shot points were 25% of the points played, with Ruud winning 59% of those points. 9 to 12 shot points were 10% of the points played, with Ruud winning 62% of those points. And 13 plus shot points were just 3% of the points played, and Alcaraz won 71% of those points. So we can see Alcaraz won the 1 to 4 shot category pretty handily, right? And also the 13 plus shot category. On a fast U.S. Open hardcourt, I would not expect a lot of super long points. So let's look at how Alcaraz won a lot of those short points with specific tactics. All right, guys, so let's take a look at the first point. Alcaraz is going to serve and volley in this point, and you can see he has a wider position on the baseline. So what this tells me right off the bat before Alcaraz even serves, right, is he's looking to possibly create angle off the serve and angle Ruud off the court because he's taking a wider position here. If he was closer in a more traditional serving position, he'd be more susceptible to the T serve here, but also the wide serve, just maybe not getting as much angle off of it. So let's see what Alcaraz actually does here. Based off the toss with Alcaraz and the contact position here, it's really obvious he's hitting a kick serve, right? He's throwing it closer to the back of the head area, past the hitting shoulder right there, and that signals that he's going to be hitting a kick serve. The kick serve is typically going to go on the ad side to the backhand right here, and he's going to try to take him over here and get Ruud way off the court. This does leave Alcaraz open to the possibility of Ruud hitting an angled return right here, but it's going to be really tough to do if Alcaraz can really bounce him out, especially because Ruud, we can see, is back here in zone 5, the deepest position in the court. When you're this far back, it's easier for the server to successfully serve and volley against you because they're going to have a hard time dipping the ball at your feet, because it takes a long time for your ball to get to them on the other side because you're starting so far back. If Ruud was starting tighter to the baseline, Alcaraz would not have as much time to close the net and hit an easy volley. Let's see what happens, though, on this particular serve. And he kicks it. It's a nasty kick, too. If we just look at that, where's that landing? Really short in the box because Alcaraz is trying to really take Ruud off the court to open everything up for an easy finish. So he's serving volleying. You can see that. The serve is short in the box, which is going to take Ruud even further out to his left. And Ruud is way out here. We can't even see him behind the graphic there, so he's pretty far off the court, right? Well outside the alley, hitting it in zone 5. This should be an easy volley for Alcaraz as long as Ruud doesn't hit a crazy angle or a screamer with a ton of MPH. Floats it down the line, which is probably the worst decision and choice he could have made, right? Because now Alcaraz has him way off the court, but Alcaraz can take this volley and just drop it on this side of the court. It doesn't even have to be a great shot to finish. Big target, and there's the finish, right? But it all started with Ruud's really deep return position, Alcaraz hitting the obvious kick serve right here based on the contact and the toss, and then his ability to drop the kick serve shorter in the box. If the serve was landing deeper in the box, it would be harder for him to angle it out more. He drops it very short here in the box and then angles it out even further, takes Ruud way off the court here. Not good on that pass. And then Alcaraz finishes right there. Let's jump into the second serve and volley point now. All right, so again, we've got Alcaraz not taking a position where he's starting closer to the center hash mark, and most people will serve more from a position of here, right? He's tending to start a little bit more between the center hash mark and the single sideline, right? Which opens up the possibility that he's going to hit this angle like he just did in the last point. But let's take a look and see what he actually does here. We've got Ruud back here again, deep in zone 5, which opens up possible angles. So let's see what Alcaraz's choice is. And that time he really played him, and I love that. So what did Alcaraz do, right? He tosses here, guys, and he kind of signals kick by tossing again back here in this direction. And look what Ruud does here. Ruud actually split steps and goes out to his backhand because he thinks the kick is coming out to the backhand side. But Alcaraz is sneaky and actually hits this kick and hits it up the tee. So he's got Ruud wrong-footed right here. Super smart from Alcaraz, hoping then to get a weak return from Ruud, right? Let's see what happens. And there it is. Look at Ruud. Guesses wrong right here. Guesses this way. He's able to recover, but when he recovers, he's done some damage. Alcaraz has done damage to Ruud and gets him stretching and reaching. And now that he's stretching and reaching, the return is probably going to be really weak, and Alcaraz will probably be able to finish with this ball or do significant damage with his volley. But let's see what happens. High volley there. Okay, let's go back for a second. Takes the high volley, almost an overhead right from this position, but a high volley gets up in the air and then punishes it down the line here. And then Ruud is forced to reach and stretch in this position, and he's going to probably hit a lob, right? And we know a lob is coming because from this position, we can see his racket face is open like this. He's on pure defense, and he's stretching and lunging for the ball. So we know that a defensive lob is probably coming on this shot, but let's see what actually happens here. There it is. And he misses that just long. But this was a really interesting kind of chess point from Alcaraz, especially 19 years old, kind of thinking like this, right? I'm showing you a kick serve position here where this kick on the first point, I actually did take you here and took you off the court, right? But this time, instead of taking you out there, and you're guessing now, which is just brilliant, right? He guesses wrong. He takes it up the tee with the kick and then gets Ruud stretching like this in a defensive position, high aggressive volley there, and then the lob goes along. So really interesting from Alcaraz with his serve and volley tactic points, right? Knowing when to come in, how to mix things up, using the kick serve in different situations, and his positioning on the baseline to open up the occasional aggressive serve and volley. Let's jump into the next point now. So Alcaraz did a really interesting thing with his return to serve position, especially on second serve returns in this match. In this match, if we look at the second serve return position, 54% of Alcaraz's second serve returns were hit from zone 3. For Ruud, that was just 2%. That is inside the baseline at contact for Alcaraz and Ruud, 54% to 2%. If we look at zone 4, Alcaraz was there 13% of the time, and Ruud was there 5% of the time. And if we look at zone 5, Alcaraz returned second serves from zone 5, 33% of the time, with Ruud hitting 93% of his second serve returns from zone 5. So Alcaraz was focused most of the time, especially the beginning and middle of this match, on taking second serve returns from zone 3 and taking time away. And then later in the match, he started to hit a lot of second serve returns from zone 5. So let's jump into some of these zone 3 returns and show you how he used them to apply pressure. All right, guys, so here we have the first second serve return point. We've got Ruud serving on the far side, Alcaraz returning on the near side here. Obvious second serve, right? The kick from Ruud, just like Alcaraz, the contact position that we see here is an obvious kick serve from this position, so we know it's coming. We're just not 100% sure if he's going to hit it here or hit it over here, but a lot of times it will be to the backhand side, so there it is. And then look at Alcaraz's position, right? Alcaraz starts behind the baseline in zone 4, but where he's actually making contact with this second serve return is going to be inside the baseline in zone 3, and he did this 54% of the time in the match, right? So he tried to take Ruud's time away. The closer the players are together, the less time the server has to react to your shot. So if you get aggressive and take the ball deep on the return, you can force damage on the server and get a short ball usually on the next shot. But let's see what happens here. So Alcaraz gets the ball deep in zone 3, and he has Ruud backed up on his back foot in a defensive relatively position, right? But Ruud does a very nice job right there, to his credit, of hitting off of his back foot using the Rafa kind of right finish right there that's high and wrapped around the head, right? And then he takes it down the line and hits a small target. So Ruud takes a very risky shot and play off of his back foot by going small target down the line to Alcaraz, and then he has Alcaraz on defense, and he's done some damage to Alcaraz, right? So Ruud goes from a position where he's on defense, on the back foot, reverses this counter damage, and then gets Alcaraz on the run. But Alcaraz does a very good job defending this and countering and getting his ball deep in zone 3, which is really tough to do. So that probably surprised Ruud quite a bit there. But Ruud steps around here, guys, and hits the inside-out forehand to Alcaraz's backhand. Alcaraz hits the net tape and ends up accidentally hitting a small target off that. Ruud takes his backhand and goes small target again, and this time it's deep in zone 3, which could easily do damage to Alcaraz with the depth and the ball being wide. That's usually the double whammy. Two things together will usually do damage to your opponent, but let's see what happens here. Alcaraz does hit short right away, okay? So the double does it to him. He hits short here in zone 1, and Ruud is lining up the forehand again. This time he goes inside in and cranks this down the line. Smacks it. Alcaraz on the dead run. But look at Alcaraz with the defensive skills right here. So Alcaraz is on the dead run, running from one side of the court over here all the way to the other side, and he is completely stretched. Ruud has done damage, but Alcaraz has very good defensive skills, especially for someone 19 years old. Counter damage here and takes it and reverses the situation on Ruud, gets him on the run, backhand, and then finish. And it just happens so fast that a lot of times I like to rewind because these points are long, or that was a long point. But Alcaraz does an incredible job going off this offensive ball from Ruud, does counter damage from a very tough position, right? Has Ruud damaged. And Alcaraz, again, anticipation-wise, he knows that he has countered Ruud and done damage to him, and he's already starting to move in with his body and starting to move forward. He recognizes that he has Ruud in trouble and he did damage to him, okay? Ruud hits short here, and it's not in zone 2 completely. It's on the edge of 2 and 3, but it's a weak ball. And when it's a weak ball and it's not pushing Alcaraz back with pace or topspin, Alcaraz can step up like he's doing here, and he can get aggressive off this ball. If Ruud had hit that with some force, Alcaraz would not be able to get that close to the baseline and then direct it here and keep Ruud running and doing damage again. And then he sneaks in and shows those great net skills and cleans up his good work, right? So Alcaraz has a very well-rounded game. A lot of people have talked about this, but it's very true. Very well-rounded game for someone his age, and he's continuing to improve. Let's jump into the next point now. All right, so here we have another second serve situation. This time we've got Ruud on the ad side and then Alcaraz over here getting ready to return. Let's see that return position though. Boom, he's inside the baseline, right? Ruud's hitting the obvious kick serve again. Look at the toss from Ruud, and the contact point here signals kick serve. Also, the rotation of the body here also signals kick serve. It's kind of half open at this point or more closed off, and that signals kick, and he hits it, but it's not that short in the box. Over here, it's a little deeper, and Alcaraz tries to cut the angle off. So he's inside the court in zone 3 at contact with this ball, trying to take Ruud's time away because Ruud is inside the baseline as well. And then Ruud bunts this and does a really good job of countering the damage from Alcaraz. So there's a little damage right there. Look at Ruud's position. He's leaning over, he's off balance, and he's reaching for the shot. This is clear damage. Alcaraz has him in trouble. It's just what can Ruud do off this to neutralize or counter the situation? Let's see what he does. And again, he does hit deep in zone 3, so really good defense from Ruud. Very good counter. Gets Alcaraz hitting off his back foot with the forehand. And then you can see Alcaraz there. Couldn't do enough with this, which is a tough ball, tough position. And he hits a little shorter here in zone 2, which gives Ruud the opportunity and possibility to attack this shot. And he gets kind of aggressive with it with a little bit of an angle. Not enough angle. It's short in zone 1. And then Alcaraz is over here going for the forehand and hits a small target off this, right? If this was really deep, it'd be tough to hit the small target. But because it lands in zone 1, he can change direction a little more easily. Changes that, goes down the line into a small target here in zone 3, and Ruud is immediately reaching and trying to hit this slice right here. And that slice usually signals defense, and here it definitely signals defense. So Alcaraz should be looking for a shorter ball if possible. And there it is right away. So we get the short ball here in zone 1, and it's weak. And because it's such a short ball, Alcaraz has plenty of time here, instead of hitting a backhand, to move around and hit his bigger forehand. His backhand's very good, but he can do a lot of damage with his forehand. So we'll go back it up for a second here. Watch the footwork. Look at the rhythm. This is something American players can learn. I'm not even saying at the Pro Tour level, but developmentally, Spanish players and European players have much better rhythm with their feet like this. Pop, 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 tap, 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 tap. Almost like a bunny in a way, than a lot of American players do who grow up strictly on hard courts. Watch the rhythm, 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 and then strikes the forehand with the feet, takes it down the line here, guys. And this is a zone 3 ball, getting it nice and deep, and he's got Ruud scrambling, does significant damage, has Ruud on the run and stretching, so we know we've got big damage on this. and then Ruud misses it out wide. But again, guys, 54% of Alcaraz's second serve returns, right, were hit inside the baseline from zone 3. He ended up switching later on in the match, we talked about that before, into a lot of zone 5 second serve returns because of how well Ruud was countering these shots. But that's credit to Ruud, right, in being able to adjust to the pressure that Alcaraz was trying to apply with his return to serve position. All right, that wraps it up for part 1 of our 2022 US Open Finals match analysis between Carlos Alcaraz and Casper Ruud. If you found this video helpful or you feel like you learned something today, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. It helps this channel grow. I'm Jason Frausto for TennisUnleashed.net. I'll see you next time.